Jackson Lee was a young man who worked as an aircraft technician. He was used to working late nights, fixing engines and checking machines at a small airbase on the edge of his city. He liked his job because it was quiet at night, and he enjoyed working with his hands. This night was supposed to be like any other. As Jackson checked the engines of a private shuttle, something strange happened. The sky suddenly lit up with a bright, colorful light. It was not like anything he had ever seen before. The light was so strong and so close that Jackson stopped working and looked up. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, before he could even blink, he felt a strange force pulling him upwards. Jackson tried to move, but he could not. It was as if he was floating. The next thing he knew, everything around him disappeared. He was no longer at the airbase. Instead, he found himself inside a strange place that glowed softly. The walls were smooth and shiny, and the air smelled fresh but unfamiliar. He looked around and saw that he was inside a clear cage that hovered in the middle of a large room. The cage was made of a material he had never seen before. It was strong, but seemed to shimmer with light. Jackson felt scared and confused. How did he get here? Why was he trapped? Suddenly, a door opened and several figures walked into the room. They were tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered in colors Jackson could not name. Their eyes were large and bright, and their faces showed no anger, only curiosity. One of them, a woman, stepped forward. She was taller than the others, with violet skin and long black hair that fell like a river down her back. She wore armor that gleamed in the light but did not look heavy. She looked directly at Jackson and spoke in a calm but strong voice. "You are safe here. You have been brought to us because you are special." Jackson tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He did not understand what she meant by special. He only knew he wanted to get out of the cage and back to Earth. The woman's name was Tarja Velra. She explained to Jackson that her people had been watching Earth for many years. They had many planets and many people, but finding a male from Earth with the right qualities was very rare. Jackson's genetic makeup was perfect for her planet's needs. Jackson listened, but he still felt trapped and scared. He was not used to this place or these people. Tarja said he had been chosen to be her mate, which meant he would stay with her on her planet. She promised he would be treated well and that no harm would come to him. But Jackson knew this was not what he wanted. Days passed, and Jackson stayed in the cage. He was given food that was strange but tasty and clothes that fit him perfectly, though they were unlike anything he had worn before. Tarja visited often. She talked to him softly, telling stories about her world and her family. Slowly, Jackson began to understand more about her people and their customs. On her planet, it was common for powerful families to choose mates carefully. Men were rare, and finding the right partner was important for their future. Tarja's family was important, and she was expected to carry on their legacy. She believed that by choosing Jackson, she was doing what was best for both of them. Jackson missed his home and his family. He thought about escaping, but the ship was large and he did not know his way around. The guards were always nearby, watching carefully. Yet every time he looked into Tarja's eyes, he saw something he could not explain: hope, kindness, and a strange kind of loneliness. Jackson's heart was still filled with fear, but also with questions. Was Tarja really his captor? Or was she just a woman who felt alone and wanted someone to share her life? Could he find a way to trust her? Could he survive in this strange new world? As he lay on the soft bed in his crystal room, Jackson knew one thing for sure. His life had changed forever. He was no longer just a young man from Earth. He was now part of a story much bigger than himself, one of love, power, and unexpected destiny. Jackson woke up one morning feeling the soft light of the alien sun through his window. The room was still strange to him: clear walls, soft floors, and quiet sounds outside. But today was different. Tarja was coming to see him. She had said she wanted to talk about what was going to happen next. When she entered, Jackson noticed she was wearing a long, flowing dress made of sparkling fabric that moved like water. Her violet skin looked even more beautiful in the light, and her eyes held a seriousness he hadn't seen before. She didn't smile this time. Instead, she sat down across from him and looked him straight in the eyes. "I want you to understand why you are here," Tarja said softly. "On my planet, finding the right partner is not just about love. It is about survival and family. Men are rare, and the future of many families depends on making the right choice." Jackson listened carefully. He still did not feel like this was fair, but he wanted to learn more. "So, you think I am the right choice?" he asked. Tarja nodded. "Yes, you have qualities that are strong, kind, and brave. Your genes match our needs perfectly. You are not here as a prisoner. You are here to be my groom." Jackson's heart beat faster. The word groom sounded strange to him, and it felt like a chain around his freedom. He wanted to say no, but he was still trapped. He wanted to escape, but at the same time, he wanted to understand this woman and her world. Tarja explained that on her planet, the bond between mates was sacred and powerful. Once chosen, mates were expected to stay together for life. The bond created strong feelings, and it was hard to break. She told Jackson that even though he was brought here without choice, she would never force him to stay if he did not want to. Jackson looked at her carefully. Could he believe her? Was she truly kind, or was this just another way to control him? Days turned into weeks. Jackson learned more about Tarja and her people. He saw that they were not cruel or mean. They had their own laws, their own ways, and they cared deeply for their families. Tarja was not a queen or a ruler, but she was a noblewoman, respected and loved by many. Every day she spent time with Jackson. Sometimes they talked about her home planet, with its tall trees, wide oceans, and strange animals. Sometimes she asked about Earth and Jackson's life there. She was curious, and Jackson found himself opening up, telling her stories of his family, his friends, and the places he had seen. Still, Jackson felt trapped. He missed his home and his freedom. He tried to find a way to escape. He watched the guards and studied the ship's corridors. He noticed a small alien named Zell who worked as a servant. Zell was quiet and kind, and Jackson hoped he could trust him. One evening, Jackson spoke to Zell quietly. "Is there a way out of here?" he asked. Zell looked around carefully and whispered, "Maybe. There is a teleport system, but it is guarded. Only a few know how to use it." Jackson's heart raced. If he could find the teleport and use it, he might get back home. He thanked Zell and decided to wait for the right moment. The next day, a festival was held on the ship. It was a celebration of the alliance between Tarja's family and other noble houses. The ship was full of music, colors, and laughter. Jackson watched from the sidelines, feeling out of place but fascinated by the beauty and the joy around him as the night grew darker. Jackson saw his chance. The guards were distracted by the music and dancing. He slipped away quietly and ran through the corridors. His heart pounded, but he was determined. He found the teleport room, a small chamber glowing with blue light. He reached out to touch the controls, hoping they would work. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. The guards appeared, blocking his way. Jackson turned to run, but he stumbled and fell, hurting his leg. He looked up, afraid of what would happen next. To his surprise, Tarja appeared among the guards. She looked at him with a mix of anger and worry. "Stop," she said firmly. Jackson froze. She walked over and helped him stand. Instead of shouting or punishing him, she held him close. "I was afraid I lost you," she whispered. Jackson looked into her eyes and saw something real: fear, care, and maybe love. He did not know what to say. That night, instead of locking him up, Tarja gave Jackson a choice. She said he could move freely on the ship, and she would not stop him from leaving if he wanted. But she hoped he would stay. Jackson felt a strange warmth inside. For the first time, he wondered if he could trust her. Maybe this woman, who once captured him, wanted to protect him. As he lay down to sleep, Jackson thought about the future. He did not know what would happen next, but he knew one thing. His life was no longer just his own. It belonged to a story bigger than anything he had imagined. After that night, things changed between Jackson and Tarja. Before, he felt like a prisoner, locked inside a strange world. Now, he had some freedom. He could walk around the big ship and even visit places he had never seen before. Tarja did. Not watch him as closely as before. She gave him space, but she stayed near, always ready to talk or listen. Jackson was still confused. He did not know if he should trust her or try to escape again. But deep inside, he felt something new, a small hope that maybe things could be different. He started paying attention to her more, watching how she moved, how she talked, and what she did when no one else was looking. Tarja was not like the people Jackson knew on Earth. She was strong, proud, and sometimes hard to understand. But she was also kind and thoughtful. She cared for her people and for Jackson, even if she showed it in ways he didn't expect. One day, Jackson asked her about her family. "Tell me about your home," he said. "What is it like where you come from?" Tarja smiled softly. "My home is beautiful," she said. "There are tall trees that reach the sky, clear rivers that shine in the sun, and mountains covered with snow. My family lives in a great city made of glass and stone. It is old, full of history and power." Jackson imagined this place. It sounded peaceful and strong. He wanted to see it one day, even if he was not sure if he would ever leave the ship. Tarja noticed his interest. She took him to a special room where she kept images of her world. The walls showed pictures of bright flowers, strange animals, and people dressed in colorful clothes. Jackson saw how proud she was of her home. He could feel her love for it, and he wanted to understand more. At the same time, Jackson shared stories about Earth. He told her about the cities, the oceans, and the people he loved. He spoke of his family, his friends, and the simple joys of life, like watching a sunset or hearing birds sing. Tarja listened carefully, sometimes asking questions, sometimes just watching him quietly. Their talks grew longer, and their time together became more comfortable. Jackson began to see Tarja as more than just his captor. She was a person with hopes, fears, and dreams. And she seemed to want the same things he did: freedom, friendship, and maybe something more. But even with this new closeness, Jackson did not forget that he was still far from home. He still wanted to escape, to see his family again. So he kept watching the ship, learning its paths and secrets. He asked Zell, the quiet servant, for help. Zell had become a friend, someone Jackson could trust. One evening, Zell told Jackson about the teleport system again. "It is very well guarded," Zell warned. "Only a few have the codes. If you try to leave without permission, the alarms will sound." Jackson nodded. "I know, but I have to try. I cannot stay here forever." Zell looked at him sadly. "Be careful. They care for you, but they will not let you go easily." The next few days, Jackson made plans. He waited for the festival to start again. The first time, it had given him a chance to try escaping. Maybe this time, he would be more careful and faster. The festival arrived. Music filled the air, and the ship was decorated with lights and banners. Aliens danced and laughed, sharing stories and gifts. Jackson watched from a distance, feeling like an outsider but fascinated by the beauty and joy around him. As the night grew deeper, Jackson slipped away quietly. His heart beat fast. He moved quickly through the halls, remembering the way to the teleport chamber. He felt hope and fear at the same time. When he reached the room, he entered the codes he had learned from Zell. The chamber lit up, and a soft humming sound filled the air. Jackson felt a strange sensation, like falling and flying all at once. Suddenly, the door behind him opened. Tarja stood there, her eyes wide and worried. "Jackson," she said, "please stop. You don't have to do this." Jackson turned to her. "I have to try. I want to go home." Tarja stepped forward, her voice gentle but strong. "I won't stop you, but I want you to know something. You are not just a prisoner here. You are someone I care about. I never wanted to hurt you." Jackson looked into her eyes and saw the truth. She was afraid to lose him. She cared for him more than she showed. Tears filled Jackson's eyes. He did not want to leave without saying goodbye. He realized that somehow he was beginning to feel the same way. He stepped out of the teleport chamber and took her hand. "Maybe," he said. "I don't want to run away anymore." Tarja smiled softly and pulled him close. "Then stay with me. Let us find a way together." That night, Jackson did not feel like a captive. He felt like someone who had found a new path, a path that was not easy but filled with hope. For the first time, he believed that love and freedom could exist together, even in a place far from home. After Jackson decided to stay, his life changed in many ways. The feeling of being trapped slowly faded, replaced by something new, a chance to build a life in a place very different from Earth. Tarja did not force him to stay. Instead, she gave him choices and respected his feelings. This made Jackson feel more comfortable and hopeful. Jackson began to explore the big ship and the city where he now lived. The city was unlike any place he had ever seen. The buildings were tall and smooth, made of shining glass and glowing crystals. The streets were clean and full of strange plants that glowed softly in the dark. People walked by with peaceful faces, dressed in clothes made from beautiful fabrics that shimmered like stars. Every day, Tarja took Jackson to new places. She showed him gardens with bright flowers and quiet lakes where the water was clear as glass. They visited halls full of books and art, where Jackson learned about Tarja's history and culture. He began to understand how much her people valued knowledge, honor, and family. Though Jackson was a guest, he also had a job to do. Tarja's family was important in the city, and he was expected to learn their ways. He was taught how to speak the language better and how to behave in public. At first, it felt strange and difficult, but Jackson worked hard. He wanted to be a good partner for Tarja, even if he was far from home. Tarja watched him with pride. She saw his efforts and his kindness, and her feelings for him grew stronger. She no longer saw him as a stolen groom or a prize. He was someone she cared deeply about, a friend, a partner, and maybe even more. One evening, they sat together in a quiet garden filled with soft lights. The air was cool, and the stars shone brightly above. Jackson looked at Tarja and spoke honestly. "I miss my family," he said softly. "I miss Earth. Sometimes it feels like a dream that I am here." Tarja took his hand gently. "I understand," she said. "I miss my home too. But maybe here we can build something new, something better." Jackson smiled. He felt a warm feeling inside. For the first time, he was not afraid. He believed that, with Tarja, he could find happiness, even in a place so far from everything he knew. Their days were filled with learning and sharing. Jackson taught Tarja about Earth's simple joys, like tasting chocolate or hearing rain on a window. Tarja taught Jackson about the stars, the planets, and the stories her people told for generations. Sometimes they walked through the city's markets where merchants sold colorful fruits, strange spices, and beautiful fabrics. Jackson loved the sounds and smells, and he enjoyed watching Tarja bargain in her playful way. Even with all this, Jackson still wondered if he would ever truly belong. He missed the small things from Earth, the feel of grass under his feet, the sound of his mother's voice, the smell of fresh bread. Tarja noticed his sadness one day and took him to a quiet place overlooking the city. "You don't have to forget your home," she said. "Your heart can hold many places. Earth will always be a part of you." Jackson looked at the shining city below and thought about the life he was building here. It was not easy, but it was real. He realized that he was not just a captive anymore. He was someone who had chosen to stay. One night, as they sat together under the twin moons, Jackson took Tarja's hand. "Thank you," he said, "for giving me a chance to choose." Tarja smiled, her eyes shining. "And thank you for staying." Their bond grew stronger every day. They faced challenges and fears, but they also shared hope and dreams. Together they found a new kind of freedom, not the kind that comes from escaping, but the kind that comes from choosing to stay and grow. Jackson was no longer just a stolen groom. He was a partner, a friend, and someone who had found love in the most unexpected place. Time passed, and Jackson's life on the alien planet became more settled. He no longer felt like a stranger or a captive. Instead, he had become a part of something new, a story of hope, trust, and unexpected love. But even as he grew closer to Tarja, he never forgot his old life or the family he missed on Earth. One day, Tarja invited Jackson to a special ceremony. It was a tradition on her planet, a celebration of unity between two people who chose to be together. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. It took place under the light of twin suns, in a garden filled with flowers that glowed softly in the warm air. Jackson wore a suit made of light fabric that shimmered gently. Tarja looked radiant in a dress made of sparkling crystals that caught the sun's rays and sent little rainbows across the garden. Around them, friends and family gathered to witness their promise to each other. When it was time, Jackson took Tarja's hands in his. He looked into her violet eyes and spoke with all the honesty in his heart. "I did not come here by choice," he said softly, "but I choose to stay. I choose you." Tarja smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "And I choose you," she said. "Not because I took you, but because you stayed." Their voices joined together in a vow that promised respect, care, and love. The ceremony was not just a joining of two people. It was a symbol of peace and friendship between Earth and Tarja's planet. It showed that even when life brings unexpected challenges, there is a way to find hope and happiness. After the ceremony, Jackson and Tarja walked through the city, hand in hand. People smiled and greeted them warmly. Jackson realized that he was no longer just a visitor. He was a part of this world, and this world was a part of him. Over time, Jackson learned to balance his old memories with his new life. He spoke often with people from Earth through messages and video calls, sharing his experiences and stories. He promised to visit one day, but for now, his place was here, with Tarja. Together, they faced the future with courage. They knew that challenges would come, but they were ready to meet them together. Their love was not perfect, but it was real. It was built on trust, respect, and a deep understanding that had grown through time. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the horizon, Jackson turned to Tarja and said, "You didn't steal me. You just got to me first." Tarja laughed softly, her hand finding his. "And I will never let you go." Jackson smiled. In that moment, far from Earth, but surrounded by new friends and love, he knew he was home.